So welcome guys, welcome to this video, and today we'll be going over 1.5 surds. Okay, so let's go. So what is a surd? Well, pretty much a surd is something like this, where we have a root over a number, and if it's not a square number, then you can consider it a surd. So for example, usually when we deal with square roots, we look at square numbers. So for example, the square root of 25, that'll just give us 5. Square root of 49, that gives us a 7. Square root of 64, that gives us an 8, okay? That's what we usually look at. However, if we have something like this, where we just have root 12, 12 is not a square number. So because 12 is not a square number, this would be considered a surd. And in A-level maths, what we need to do is we need to simplify these surds down, okay? So right now we have the square root of 12, and we want to simplify down that surd. So how do we do that? Well, very simple. What we want to do is you want to go through the factors of 12 and really try and think of if there are any square number factors, okay? Square number factors of 12. So for example, if I just write down all the square numbers, okay, between 1 and 12, then we have, okay, 81, 100, 121, and 144. Okay, I've written down all these square numbers from 1 to 12. What I mean by that is obviously 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, all the way up to 12 times 12, which is 144. So we need to figure out if 12 has any square number factors. So just go through the list. Okay, so factors of 12, well, 4, okay, 4, that is a factor of 12, and it's also a square number. So what does that mean? What can we do? Well, what we can do with this 12 is we can rewrite this as the square root of 4 times 3, okay? So now we've written it as the square root of 4 times 3. We can also do something else. We can also break up the square roots. So now we have that is now equal to the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. You can also do that as well. And now we know what the square root of 4 is. We know the square root of 4 is 2. So now we have 2 times root 3. And you can't do anything with that root 3. Therefore, our answer would just be 2 root 3. Okay? So for this question, we have the square root of 20 over 2. And we just do the same thing. So we look at that square root of 20, we think of any square number factors which 20 may have. And again, 4, that is the square number factor. So then if we rewrite this, we get the square root of 4 times 5, and that is over 2, okay? And then if we rewrite that, we get the square root of 4 times the square root of 5, and that is over 2. We know what the square root of 4 is, that's just 2, so then that will be 2 root 5, and then that is all still divided by 2. And 2 root 5 divided by 2, the 2's will just cancel out. Therefore, we are left with the square root of 5, okay? Okay, so now we have 2 minus root 3, and that is all times by 5 plus root 3. So again, this question is very similar to Excel in the brackets when we have the normal quadratic type of brackets. We do the same thing on this one. So first things first, we'll do 2 times 5, which is 10. 2 times root 3 is just going to be positive 2 root 3. Then we have a minus root 3 times a 5, so that's going to be a minus 5 root 3. And now we're going to have a minus root 3 times a root 3. So these kind of questions, if you ever have the square root of a number times by itself, you just return that number, okay? So in this case, it would just be a 3, and then we've got a minus times a positive, okay? So that will give us a minus 3, okay? So then if we just simplify this down, we get a 10 minus 3, which is 7, and then we get a 2 root 3 minus a 5 root 3, so it's 2 lots of root 3 minus 5 lots of root 3, which will give us a minus 3 root 3. Let's look at the square root of 72. So again, we're looking for square number factors. So with this one, there are multiple ways you can do it, because this one is a slightly interesting one, as it has multiple square number factors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one two ways. So I'll do the easiest way first. So you want to always think of the highest square number factor. In this case, that would be 36, okay? So we'd get the square root of 36 times by the square root of 2. And then that will leave us with 6 root 2. But let's say you didn't know that. Let's say you didn't know that 36 was the factor, or you didn't think of 36 as a factor. Maybe you thought of another factor, because this one has another square number factor, and that is 9 and 8, because 9 is also a square number. So let's say you do this question and you have 9 instead, okay? Well, now we get square root of 9 times the square root of 8, and if you simplify it down, you get 3 root 8. Now, this may happen to you when you're solving these. You may get 3 root 8, and you may just leave it like that. However, what you always remember is you want to simplify it down as much as possible. So with that root 8, that can actually simplify down even more, okay? Because 8 also has a square number factor, which is 4. So therefore, you'd have to simplify it down even more. So if you did that, you would get 3 times the square root of 4 times 2, and that would give us 3 times 2 root 2, which would therefore also give us 6 root 2. Okay, so as you can see, even if you don't find the highest square number factor first, when you start to simplify it down, you'll then realize that, oh wait, 8 can also be simplified down even more. So don't worry if you find a square number factor which isn't the highest, because later on you can always just simplify it down. So for this question, we have the square root of 28 minus 2 root 63 plus root 7. So for this question, again, just simplify down like normal. So we get the square root of 28, a square number factor is root 4, root 7, minus 2 lots of. So 63, again, think of the square number factors, so 9. So that would be the square root of 9 times the square root of 7, and then just plus the root 7, okay? So we simplify this down even more. Root 4, that will give us a 2 root 7 minus 2 lots of 3. So I'll write the times here. 3 root 7. Remember, it's being times by that 2. And then we're just left with root 7. So therefore, we have 2 root 7 minus 2 times 3 root 7, which is a minus 6 root 7 plus root 7. And now we can just add it all up together. And if we do that, we get 2 root 7 minus 6 root 7, which will give us a minus 4 root 7 plus root 7. That will give us a minus 3 root 7. So for our last question today, we have to simplify the square root of 75 minus the square root of 12, and we need to give it in the form of a root 3, where a is an integer. So this is an exam style question, so let's go through it. So for this one, again, just simplify down as normal. So again, you want to find a square number factor. So if we start with 75, then 75 has 25 as a square number factor. 25 times 3 is equal to 75. So we can rewrite that square root of 75 as the square root of 25 times the square root of 3. And again, with the root 12, find a square number factor. That would be 4 times 3. So this one would be minus the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. Okay? If we simplify this down, the square root of 25 is 5. So this would be 5 root 3 minus the square root of 4, which is 2. So that would be 2 root 3. And then we'll need to rewrite this. So 5 lots of root 3 minus 2 lots of root 3 is just 3 root 3. As you can see, now we've written it in this form of a root 3, where a is a positive 3. And that is where we'll end this lesson on surds. So in our next lesson, we'll be going over 1.6, the last chapter in chapter 1. That is all about rationalizing the denominators. So it continues with surds. So I will see you then for the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you soon.